What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Will and D. We got my buddy Jeffrey here, and we're here to talk some college football. The playoff happened, and it was both great games, just like last year. Hopefully, the final this year will be better than last year season's final. I mean, it really can't be much worse than last year.
Yeah, it's not going to be that bad.
Yeah. All right.
Definitely appreciate you for having me on. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of news to talk about, the portal, coaches, for some news there, and, the CFP semifinals and the bowl recaps. And we're going to be previewing the national championship game. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff going on.
We're going to go take a little look down the portal. And the newest news is Caden Salter from Liberty hopped in the portal, and a lot of people think he's going to go to Auburn and reunite with Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, I mean, that again just goes to show you, though, how hard it is for these smaller schools like Liberty to remain good. You get your coaches poached, you get your players poached. It's just the name of the game. That's why Liberty can't compete with Oregon in the bowl game, because they're already so far behind. But then you take one of their best players and now he's gone. So how much longer, will Liberty still be able to maintain the success they had? Who knows? Chadwell's a great coach, but I mean, how much longer will he be there? It's tough. So it's good for Auburn if they can get him, because he's very talented. I mean, he can run, he can pass, but as with anything else, though, going from a smaller school to a bigger school, will he be able to adjust? And the SEC is going to be uber tough next season with all those teams, Texas, Oklahoma added. I mean, Auburn already is being, preseason ranked very low, like 12th, 13th, 14th, 11th, wherever in the SEC, which isn't very good. So it's going to be an uphill climb for them, but I think it would be smart for him to reunite with Hugh Freeze. And he is very talented, so it'll be interesting to see what happens if he does go to Auburn.
And now the Will Howard situation gotten goofy with the bowl, with the whole Miller Moss performing well. We'll talk about that later. But now people think he's going to go to he's not going to go to USC. People are now saying he's going to go to Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State, like you mentioned, Will, before we went live, it seems like every other, week or every other day, there's a new quarterback on the chopping block to possibly go there, right? And I mean, the thing is that Kyle McCord was solid at Ohio State. He had a good year, went 11-1, but then it wasn't enough. They got upset. He's gone, and then they lost the bowl game. So now it's like, oh, we need a quarterback, which – yeah, of course they're going to need a quarterback. I don't know if Devin Brown is ready. It's just they need a QB, but they had their guy. McCord was fine. And the issue is, and I feel like is why a lot of these other guys have not gone there, is because the amount of pressure that this quarterback's going to have, whoever it is, if it does end up being Will Howard, the amount of pressure that they're going to have at Ohio State is going to be through the roof. They're going to expect, you got to be better than McCord. You have to be better. And if not, then it's just going to be tough on that player. And it's going to be tough on Ohio State fans and the team and everybody that wants to win. They want to win the Big Ten. They want to beat Michigan again. And the more that they keep losing to Michigan and the more times that they're not among the top 3 or 4 in college football in that discussion, they're going to get more upset. And Will Howard, he's a good quarterback, but I don't know how much of an upgrade he is over McCord. I think he is, but it's not super significant. And especially like you mentioned as well before we went live too, Will Howard is not a guy, that can just stay in the pocket and just pick you apart. He can pass, but he also uses his legs. Ron Day struggles with letting his quarterbacks use his legs. So will it even be a good fit? It makes sense for Will Howard not to go to USC now, but I just don't know if Ohio State fans are going to be happy with Will Howard if, he's not significantly better than McCord. But we don't even know if he's going there. Things could change. Maybe he goes somewhere else.
Things could. I mean, it's Ohio State. People who knows who's actually going to go to Ohio State.
But they're running out of guys, though. They have to get somebody.
What we do know, though, is that DJU is going to Florida State. Was DJU that much better at Oregon State than he was at Clemson? I don't know. But I do trust Mike Norvell more than I trust Clemson to develop quarterbacks these days. So we'll see if Mike Norvell can get something out of DJ. This is a significant step down, though, from I'm blanking on his name.
Jordan Travis.
So I don't know if Clemson can be not Clemson. Florida State. I don't know if Florida State can be a playoff team next year. I do think they'll win the ACC most likely, but I don't know if they'll make it unscathed. Like, I'm feeling pretty confident my Irish will take them down in South Bend when they come over. I mean, I know I'm biased. I'm biased, of course, but
yeah, Notre Dame's looking good. I don't blame you for having confidence for sure. Florida State's losing a lot. They have a lot of talent to replace. But,
yeah.
I mean, I think that looking at the guys in the portal and who's already off the board, this is not bad. I mean, DJU is talented. He's got an NFL future, even if he's, nowhere near as, highly thought of as he was before because of the fact that he's had a couple of seasons where he's shown a lot of flaws. And to your point, I mean, how much better was he at Oregon State? I feel like the turnovers were better. Like, he didn't make as many bad mistakes. And plus, when you're at Clemson, just like Kyle McCord when he was at Ohio State, every mistake you make is amplified when you're at a big program. When you're at a team like Oregon State, that all they're wanting to do, you win 8-9 games and you're great. You're fantastic because it's a program like that. I feel like that's what made DJ look better at Oregon State, is because he was at a program like that. Nothing against Oregon State, but they're a massive step down from Florida State or Clemson or, any of these type programs. So, I mean, he's not perfect, but Mike Norvell is a good coach when it comes to quarterbacks. Travis improved tremendously over his time. No one really thought he was all that great a couple years ago before, his redshirt junior year. Last year, he really came out on the scene and was one of the better quarterbacks in college football. So maybe he can have the same effect on DJ. I do think he's a downgrade. Like you said, he's not going to put up the stats probably Travis did. He's not going to be able to use his legs as much, even though he can run, but he's not going to be as explosive in that regard. But if he can win 9-10 games at Florida State, and that's a big if, then it's a good move. I mean, and like I said, there's not a lot of other options for them to get at this point. So, and it's a good move for DJ to go to a bigger program again. He's going to be playing against his old team in Clemson, so that's big as well. And maybe he can get himself, back higher in the NFL draft conversation. I don't think it's a bad move for him or Florida State, but it is a downgrade from Travis, but most players are.
I have another question, Jeffrey. Who the heck is Miami going to get? Like, are they just going to stick with Emory Williams even though he got hurt?
Man.
Like, he was looking all right.
Cam Ward didn't happen.
Cam Ward going to the NFL.
That was tough. I was shocked. Did you think that's the right move for Cam Ward? I don't. I think he should have stayed in college. There's too many guys in the draft. Man, I don't know. Miami's in a pickle. I mean, Malachi Nelson's still out there. But have they really contacted him? I don't think so.
He's so raw. They're going to have to develop him. And Miami can't develop quarterbacks. Like Tyler Van Dyke
the thing is, though, that's why with these really good quarterbacks, why do they want to go to a school that doesn't develop quarterbacks? I mean, that's kind of the issue here.
They need like someone like a DJ. They need someone that's been at least kind of developed.
Yeah, I mean, they're experienced and they're going to, just get by. Like, they're not going to blow many games for you. I don't know. It's not looking that great.
Maybe
I mean, they're not going to pick up guys like that, I don't think. A Jordan McLeod or Jaden Maava. I don't think Miami will go after them.
Well, McLeod's kind of developed. I don't know. McLeod's developed enough. Maybe. I don't know. They wanted KJ bad.
UCF. I think that is a great move for
Great move. Miami, and I heard Miami wanted KJ bad too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he's a good runner. He's a big body. And the thing is like UCF has been running an offense like that with John Rice Plumlee. And now you're just going to seamlessly go over with Jefferson. I think Jefferson can revitalize his career. I think he can. He's been hurt a lot. And only time will tell if he does. But he was really good a couple years ago when he had a lot of talent around him at Arkansas. And if he can just, get back to that, UCF, you're not going to be playing as tough a competition in the Big 12. I think it was a good move for Gus Malzahn and Jefferson.
Yeah, we'll be hoping to improve from 6 wins.
Ty Thompson's still out there, but again, to your point, for Miami, develop. He's not developed.
He's not developed.
Where's he going to go? I mean, it's like they're running out of options because a lot of these schools have already got their guy. I mean, that's where it becomes tough. If you're still out there as a quarterback and you haven't committed anywhere yet, you're kind of in trouble because all these schools already got their quarterback.
Robbie Ashford's going to go back to JDL, maybe JDL could go to Miami.
Yeah, but he's turnover prone. I mean, they were mad
Yeah.
at Tyler Van Dyke for
I
throwing.
mean, yeah, he's just another Tyler Van Dyke.
I mean, that would definitely not work.
There's one
there's not a
more
lot
that
of
I
guys
want
from
to.
Miami left on the board.
There's one more quarterback that I know transferred that Jeffrey will get a kick out of.
Oh, I'm sure it's funny.
Athen Kaliak.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I did see that. Going to Rutgers. What are you doing? Don't they have Gavin Wimsatt? He's still there. Why would you go to Rutgers? I don't know. That's group of 5. He should have gone to the group of 5. I mean, kudos to Rutgers for getting a backup QB. Credit to them, but what are you doing? He's not going to start. There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. That's crazy. I mean, he just did not perform well at Minnesota. Jeff Sims, and Purdy's brother both leaving Nebraska. Oh, man. I'm shocked Jeff Sims didn't enter earlier.
Yeah. I mean, the 11th. He's been in, but no one wants
we didn't scroll this far because I didn't see it. And I had no idea that he even entered. I didn't even know about it because we have never even talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done lives every week. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense for Jeff Sims to leave Nebraska. He's not going to start. A group of 5. Same with Cal McManus. He should have gone to group of 5 because someone will start him. But I don't know. He's very turnover prone. Penny Boone's leaving Toledo, just like Ben. So that stinks for Toledo. They're kind of falling apart a little bit with their players.
That hurts Utah. Jaquindon Jackson. He's pretty good.
Yeah. A lot of these teams are just losing good players. It's tough. I mean, if you can't keep your guys, I mean, they got a guy from Idaho, Anthony Woods, to replace him. But yeah, Ole Miss has done a good job in the portal, especially on defense. I know we talked about that already, but it's crazy that how good Ole Miss has done. There it is, Julian Fleming, though. It's crazy to me how long that he.
Why did it take that long?
I don't know. Like, he was set 100% Penn State for like the last month and a half, and then he finally goes there. So that's crazy.
Was it like an NIL negotiation, maybe?
Probably. I mean, that's how a lot of stuff's working these days. I mean, well, basically every move. I mean, a lot of guys, do still move for playing time or other reasons, and maybe, especially at lower levels, like they're not making as much. But like with these bigger name guys, yeah, it's always usually an NIL deal or something going on, or making sure that they're gonna, get a good starting spot like they're expecting. Yeah, Jeff Sims should move to defense. Cal McManus should have gone to Holy Cross.
Holy Cross is at level.
Oh man, I mean that's a big downgrade though. I mean, going from Minnesota to Holy Cross, yeah.
Noah Rogers going to go to probably NC State. He didn't get much playing time, though.
Well, I mean, you look at a guy like Jameson Williams that was at Ohio State that didn't get playing time, and then he went to Alabama and exploded. So, I mean, maybe NC State could get a guy if he goes there that, is obviously very talented. It just didn't get to play a lot. I mean, because Ohio State just got so many good receivers, they can't all play.
Lance Hurd, that from LSU.
Yeah, he'll go to another big program for sure. Yeah, Colorado got a few O-linemen definitely.
Definitely needed
that offensive line. And I mean, you just guarantee a starting job. I mean, you're going to get a starting job with how bad the offensive line was last season.
Man, that hurts. Percy Lewis going from Mississippi State to Ole Miss. Oof.
Ooh, yeah, Indiana, for whatever reason in football, last couple years has had several guys go to Purdue. I don't know why. Like, they've had 4 guys go to Purdue from Indiana. And how many guys has Indiana gotten from Purdue? 0. So it's not a two-way street. It's just a one-way street.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make any sense. But that would stink for Mississippi State. They're in bad shape right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi State is not looking like they're going to be able to compete, but maybe things will change. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Purdue at are going to A&M. A&M needs all they can get right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
all,
and I mean, definitely, especially when you got a defensive-minded coach now, Mike Elko, who was obviously former defensive coordinator there. They really need to beef up that side of the ball.
Yeah. That sucks for Miami of Ohio.
Arizona State lost a guy to Washington. Arizona State is not in good shape right now.
Yeah, that's a long-term rebuild. Tackett Curtis still in the portal. USC fans were sad to see him go.
Yeah, that was tough for them. I mean, he's very talented. USC lost a lot of guys. They really did that were very talented and didn't really ever get to develop. So hopefully for USC's sake, they can get some experienced guys. They've got
another loss for Arkansas in the portal, man.
Yeah, the problem with the SEC, I mean, a lot of these teams like Arkansas and South Carolina, Mississippi State, Florida, like they're just cannibalizing themselves down the bottom of the SEC. You know, just like a lot of these guys, like they're transferring each other. Can remember Rocket Sanders? He went from Arkansas to South Carolina. Like all of these guys, I mean, they're just like leaving and going to these other schools, and none of them are ever like getting really good right now. They're all just struggling. And yes, and I've said it tons of times, some teams have to lose. Like same thing in the Big Ten. You're adding USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, all these teams. Some teams have to lose. Rutgers, Indiana, who's it going to be? Somebody has to be at the bottom of the conference. But the SEC, just some of these teams are going to lose. Arkansas, South Carolina, whoever it is, like they're going to have 4 and 8 seasons, 5 and 7 seasons, and it stings for them because they have talent, but they don't have enough to win at a higher level. It's going to be interesting to see how the SEC shakes out next few seasons.
Looking at the coaching carousel a bit with the extensions, Eli Drinkwitz got extended.
That's totally expected for sure. Now, I will say it's going to be intriguing to see how good they do.
They've added a bit in the portal, and they've done better in recruiting.
Yeah, they seem to be, trying to be in it for the long haul. Like they're trying to elevate themselves above the Arkansas and the South Carolinas. But can they consistently do it? Because we were saying the same thing about Arkansas 2-3 years ago. They were doing great. Sam Pittman like they were going to be competing, and then now they've fallen off. So how long will Missouri, continue to have success? It's going to be interesting.
Holloman Wiggins going from Alabama to A&M. I don't think he did a good job at Alabama with the receivers. I mean, he did like a good job using like transfer portal receivers, but Bama, like they haven't gotten any Amari Coopers lately.
Alabama's wide receiver room the last couple of years has been down. It does not have the same talent it used to have. And to your point, another thing you said before we went live, the development has not really been there. Yeah. It's been more guys that have just plug in and play that have been solid. So I don't know, maybe he'll do better at A&M, but if you're not doing a great job per se at Alabama, it's going to be tough to do better somewhere else. A lot of guys have resurrected their careers at Alabama, under Saban with the assistants at various positions. So you should be doing a good job with all that talent.
Matt Wells, who's the head coach at Texas Tech and Utah State, didn't do a good job at Texas Tech at all. But he's going to be the OC for Kansas State now. So probably a bit of a downgrade, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's very tough with programs like Kansas State that are in the middle of the pack. They're not among the elite, but they're not bad. And they have, a bright offensive mind, and they lose them, or a bright defensive mind. It's kind of like Kalen DeBoer at Indiana. At offensive coordinator, he was great. The offense was humming, and then he leaves. That's the way it is. Like, you can't keep him around like Clemson kept Brent Venables around for so long. It just doesn't work that way because you can't afford to keep him. And, it's going to be a downgrade for Kansas State. Matt Wells, he's a better coordinator than a coach probably. He struggled mightily at Texas Tech, but a lot of times, those guys are better as coordinators. So I'm sure he'll do fine, but it's going to be tough to replicate what the old guy did. But they do have Avery Johnson. He's talented, so we'll see.
I don't know who. Chris Will going to Michigan State. Do you remember him from Indiana?
Yeah, that's Chad Wilt, right? Chad Wilt.
Yeah,
I
Chad
remember
Will.
him.
Sorry, I
Yeah, I was
misread it.
trying to
Yeah,
think. I was like Chris Will. I know Chad
yeah,
Wilt. Yeah, he was
yeah.
Indiana's defensive coordinator. He didn't do that great.
He didn't do. Oh man, not good
I
for
mean,
Michigan State.
I don't know. I mean, no one's done good at Indiana recently. Since
Yeah,
Kane Wommack, Kalen DeBoer, it's been a nightmare. Like the last
yeah,
3 seasons have been terrible. So, I mean, maybe he was all right, but Indiana's defense was bad. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess Michigan State, knows what they're doing. What are they adding him to? Because they're not. He's not becoming defensive coordinator because he was
Co-defensive coordinator.
Okay,
I believe.
so he's not going to be the full time. I mean,
Oh
like I
wait, no,
said,
never mind. Wait, crap.
because he was co-defensive coordinator at Indiana. He wasn't like the full time, but he did most of the duties. But Tom Allen did some of it too, and the defense wasn't.
I think
good.
he's just going to be a position coach. Wait.
Okay, so he's taking a step down then. Yeah, I mean that's fine. I mean I think he was a former linebackers coach or something like that. So maybe if he's doing that, I mean he might do fine there. That's fine for them.
Timmy Chang, Hawaii mixing their staff up. They didn't do that well this year.
Yeah, Hawaii, their offense is nowhere near as good as it used to be. They got to improve for sure.
Mm-hmm. Here it is. LSU making big changes on defense, including a defensive coordinator.
Oh yeah, I mean they need it. Their defense was just shockingly poor because of how good LSU's defense normally is, and they were horrible on defense. Jaden Daniels allowed them to be a 10-win team. Winning 9 games in regular season, didn't play in the bowl, but like they were only as good as what he did, basically. That offense and in general, Malik Neighbors, all that. Like they were really good on offense, but that defense did not do them any favors. And they do need to make changes because without Jaden Daniels, it's going to be very hard for them to win at the rate they just did if their offense is not going to be as explosive with a poor defense. Hopefully for them, they can get some good coaching hires and get good players on defense, help them out.
Yeah, Kerry Cooks wasn't good at Notre Dame. I don't know why he took him with LSU. Like he had to fire Kerry Cooks and he brought him back. And
a lot of coaches do this though. It's when they move, they add some guys, on their staff from the old school that were not great. Like we obviously well documented with Lincoln Riley, with Alex Grinch, same thing. It's like he didn't do that good at Oklahoma, but you bring him over anyway. And I understand like crunch time. Sometimes, you can't really do a full search. So maybe that's why Brian Kelly just added him over anyway, because he didn't really have time to really get someone else for the job. But if you bring someone over that already struggled at your old school, he's probably not going to do much better at the new one.
Yeah. I know Bob Diaco, he kept him on his staff. He did a pretty good job with him at Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. So it would be like he was the defensive coordinator for the Manti Te'o team.
Mm-hmm.
But he became a head coach at UConn and just UConn wasn't. I mean, UConn was a bowl, like a 7 to 8 win team, and then once Bob Diaco took them over, they haven't been back to being good. So and that's why he's now not a coordinator and just a position coach.
Mm-hmm.
But,
that's crazy.
See anything else? I don't really care about New Mexico State staff. I'm sorry.
Oh man, yeah. People only care because they beat Auburn. Like that was it.
Shane Beamer mixing it up. Yeah, Shane's trying not to get fired this year.
Doc says, "My apologies for suggesting the Iowa pick."
Man,
I'm so glad I went Tennessee, man. I had a lot of bad beats that Syracuse game, so I'm just glad I didn't pick Iowa. I'm glad I did not.
All right.
Yeah, definitely Shane Beamer in South Carolina needs help for sure. And
there's a number of coaches coaching for their job next season for sure.
Getting Rocket Sanders maybe with a new running backs coach, they can be really dynamic back there, but they're going to have a passing attack. You have to have a balanced offense. But yeah, you're right. A lot of coaches their jobs are on the line, and it's crazy because a lot of these guys 2-3 years ago were looking great. It's amazing how in a wild way how they've fallen from where they were. Dave Aranda, Shane Beamer, Sam Pittman, all those guys 3 years ago, people were so high on them. I was high on Dave Aranda through the roof, and it's all collapsed.
Yeah, hopefully Dequan Finn can save his job.
Out of those three, you're probably in agreement with me in this, but I think that Dave Aranda is the best chance to save his job.
Dave Aranda changed his coaching staff up a lot too, and I think they're for the better.
And he's in the Big 12, so there's not as many tough teams. I think he can possibly turn around.
I think
Pittman, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, I think they should have at least 7 wins. I think Baylor should for sure.
Now, between Beamer and Pittman, who do you think has a better shot to save his job?
I think they're both screwed, but Beamer, I guess.
Yeah, I would probably agree. Beamer by a hair, but yeah, they're both in bad shape. It's not looking good. I hate it for them. Hummus Heroes is good evening. Appreciate that, Hummus Hero. Appreciate you stopping by.
All right. It's time to do some bowl reviews, starting with these games.
My predictions started doing better down the stretch. Early on, it was abysmal, but I started picking them better toward the end.
Same with me. Yeah. I'm ranked 3rd right now on the Voice of College Football bowl picks.
That's good, man. I wish I'd have joined that one. Yeah. I didn't join it, and it was too late. I wanted to see where I would have finished.
I'm 3rd out of 60 people, so I'm pretty
That's
happy.
Good, man. Yeah. That's really good. But, yeah, Virginia Tech, though. Me and you went Va-Tech.
Yeah.
That was a good pick. Pick.
We hit that. We hit that one.
Hummus said, hey, Joe, I didn't hear what you thought about SMU, to be fair, and this is to be fair. When me and Will made the pick, Preston Stone was playing. We thought. He didn't play. That's been the big issue with bowl season is that you make these picks and then guys don't play. So then you had a backup quarterback for SMU. Plus, it was raining in the Fenway Bowl. What does SMU do? They pass. BC, they just ran it down their throat. It was an ugly game. BC won, but BC still isn't good. They were not a good team, but congrats that they won. Congratulations. But if Preston Stone played and it was a fair weather day, SMU would have won by a lot.
Can you say sorry to Boston College fans?
I mean, I can say it. Sorry, Boston College. You're slightly competent, but like I don't know. I mean, like they're okay. They're a decent team.
All right, I gotta fix the layout again.
But they're definitely not that good still. They're not a great team at all. It's just with the opt-outs. If Castellanos didn't play, BC wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
But he played. Preston Stone did not, so BC won. And we saw that with a lot of these games. I mean, next game, people thought Louisville was going to win because of the fact Caleb Williams wasn't playing, all those teams like that. And then what happened? You got USC winning because Miller Moss came and played well. You just sometimes don't know what to expect. Jason says, Jerry loves hating on winning teams. BC is not a winning team. They're not a winning team. Okay, 7-6, and half their wins came over teams that are like 3-30. No, I mean, they're still not that good. Still not that good, but congratulations. Congratulations.
All right. Well, congratulations to USC for beating Louisville. And Miller Moss, man. Will Howard must have been pretty upset watching that game.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me, though, just how people's minds can shift. All we heard was Will Howard, right? And then Miller Moss. Like, it was so funny that you're watching USC beat Louisville in the bowl game, and what's trending is Will Howard. It's just funny how that's where we've gone now in college football, that when you're watching a football game, what's trending is a quarterback that's not even on the team. That just blew me away. It's funny. But, yeah, I mean, Miller Moss played great, and maybe he's going to be the starter now. Who knows? I mean, he had a great game. Louisville, to me, their defense really disappointed. For how great Louisville's defense was supposed to be this year, maybe their defense wasn't all that. And partially it was because, again, like I reiterated all year, Louisville played a lot of bad football teams. Their schedule was really easy. Louisville clearly was not a top 20 team. And this game made that apparent. They were not a top 20 team. They were a good team. Brom did a good job, but they were not a top 20 team.
What do you? Never mind. I won't say. That would make me sound kind of dumb. Okay. And we have Oklahoma State A&M. We were sweating this one out a bit, but the Pokes did hold on.
Yeah, Oklahoma State, it wasn't as close to an epic of a collapse as Washington almost had, which we'll get to that. But Oklahoma State, they did try to blow the game at times, but just feed Ollie Gordon, man. I mean, give him the ball late, you're going to win. That's all you got to do. They found a way. I mean, credit to A&M. I will give A&M credit, considering, some of these bowls where we've just seen incompetent play, like Auburn against Maryland or Syracuse against South Florida. Credit to A&M for not just collapsing in this game, getting beat 30-0. They actually played hard in this game.
And then Carolina.
Now, when I talk about A&M playing hard, North Carolina did not play hard. Pathetic performance. West Virginia fans, you were loud and proud. All I heard was that there was going to be more West Virginia fans there. They showed out. Congratulations to their fans. Congratulations to their team. And congratulations for the commentators being so accurate when saying that Neil Brown, the fans never wavered on Neil Brown. Yeah, they did. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. All we heard was how much they loathe Neil Brown. They wanted Neil Brown out on a rail. So, yes, definitely Neil Brown has gotten some West Virginia fans back in their good graces. But they have not always stuck by him. But the reason West Virginia won this game is because Garrett Green played. Most of their players played. North Carolina did not. Drake May opted out. A lot of other guys opted out. Tez Walker even opted out. A lot of guys did. You would think maybe Tez Walker would have played, considering the fact that he wasn't able to play the first few games of the season. But he didn't play either. So, yeah, North Carolina just was terrible. And they've been bad in bowls because they always opt out. It's terrible. And now Will is showing this again. Thank you. Boston College winning.
I mean, we already talked about it enough. I just got it.
A wet and rainy day. They knocked off SMU, who had their backup QB. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, at least SMU played harder than Miami did against Rutgers.
I mean, Miami at times was okay in this game. What was the turning point? Because there was one point in this game Miami was winning. What turned the tide in the game was they blocked a punt, Rutgers did, and then they got the touchdown off that, and that changed the game. Rutgers, they said, has had 8 blocked punts in the last 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. They're good at it. So, yeah, Miami's blocking on that punt was soft. Yeah, I agree. And Rutgers was able to win. I'm glad I went with Rutgers. It's just very tough, to, I guess you would say, back a team like Miami that is anemic in bowl games as they are. I think they're 1-11 now in their last 12. And Carolina's been poor too, in bowl games. So, yeah, I mean, it's just something to monitor in the future. If the team's bad in bowls, don't back them. And they had a lot of opt-outs, and Rutgers wanted it. And they were basically a home game.
And we have the Pop-Tarts Bowl with the best post-game celebration with the Pop-Tart going in the toaster.
Yeah, that was funny how they kept talking about that. It was hilarious. I will say that Kansas State, when talking about the game itself, they weren't super impressive, but it was just the fact that they made the winning plays down the stretch. Avery Johnson, he threw a lot of balls away, but he made the passes when needed, that touchdown late. And Kansas State's defense was solid enough. And Brennan Armstrong did not play that great. Had that pick late. I mean, it wasn't a uber entertaining game. It wasn't anything crazy happened, but Kansas State just played better. And we both picked them, so they made us look pretty good there.
And then lastly, I believe we both got this one right too. Arizona against Oklahoma. Jackson Dart, man, did not look as good as Avery Johnson.
The funny thing about this game is so many people were telling me Oklahoma's going to win anyway. We got too much talent. We're going to win. I'm like, Noah Fafita. That's all I gotta say. Noah Fafita. And I mean, it was insane. The commentators, they kept saying it. Like, I don't know, you watched the game, I'm sure. But the commentators kept saying, I swear, like 10 times, nobody's heard of this guy, but now you have. It's Noah Fafita. If he was 6'3", he'd be at one of the top schools in the country. But since he's 5'9", he's at Arizona. And I'm like, for one thing, that's kind of disrespecting Arizona a little bit. That you're like, they can't recruit anybody, like if they're the perfect size or whatever, right? So, like, that was funny to me. But I think a lot of more people know about Noah Fafita than those commentators were leading on. And yeah, some people that just watch the SEC or the Big Ten don't know who he is, but I've watched him probably 5 times this year. He's good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if he's going to be sustainable, like if people figure him out, or if he gets hit enough, being that small, it might break him a little bit, where he won't be as good, but he's just, for his size, so far throughout his career, he's been amazing. And Oklahoma, I mean, they had a lot of opt-outs. It's tough to pick a team with that many opt-outs. And Jackson Arnold did struggle, especially early. He got it together a bit, but then he struggled again late. And Noah Fafita just played very well, not turning it over like Arnold did, and Arizona won. So I'm glad we got that pick right.
Mm-hmm. Gun to my head, I'm probably picking Arizona to win the Big 12 next year.
I mean, I have a lot more, I guess you would say you have to look at these teams, like a lot more processing to do, like see what these teams do in the offseason. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely up there. Like there's a shot that they're the best team next year with everybody that they're gonna have with Fafita, and doesn't seem like a lot of people are leaving. So yeah, that's gonna be great for them. I mean, Utah, they're gonna be in the conversation with Rising, and in their defense possibly better. I mean, Doc P saying Utah will be better. I mean, we'll have to see. It's so early. Like, I'm not even thinking about that. My focus is on the championship game, and then we're going to have a whole offseason. But, yeah, I mean, Arizona, Utah, maybe a couple others. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, wild to see how the Big 12 shakes out next year without Oklahoma, Texas in it.
And then we have that next day, Clemson and Kentucky was a great bowl game. That was one of the better ones for sure.
Yeah, I went Clemson, and I was tentative on it because they had a lot of opt-outs. But Kentucky, it's not like they didn't either. But the thing about this game for me, and I know Clemson had some opt-outs on defense, but Clemson's defense, man, Kentucky
they did good. They
moving the ball.
Yeah, they did good stopping the run. Like Ray Davis didn't go crazy, but Devin Leary had a good game.
Well, to your point on Ray, Ray Davis, they contained him fairly well, like you said. But I was just watching Clemson like a few years ago. You would never have seen this. Kentucky was just dropping 40-yard passes, 30. I mean, that one guy, that Byron Brown, the receiver for Kentucky that had 100 yards, like he just had big play after big play after big play. He had a kick return too, and I'm just like, Clemson never does this. Like, it was very concerning for Dabo with how many big plays they were giving up, something they used to never do. I mean, Kay Klubnik did enough. Shipley did enough till he got hurt. Maffa played well. He put up 4 touchdowns. A lot of it was because they were close to the end zone, but he had a couple decently long runs. But still, Clemson did enough. Found a way late, and the play calling late was good to be able to take the lead with barely any time left. Because, if there was about a minute left in that game, Kentucky could have scored again with how many big plays Clemson
had. Like if Mario Cristobal was coaching Clemson, I think Kentucky would have won.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, Dabo, the coaching is why Clemson won. They found a way, but, their defense needs work because Kentucky was scoring way too easily. Good game, though, like you said.
Mm-hmm. And now I get to gloat a little bit about my Irish. I felt bad. I felt bad for the Beavers in this one just because of their depth. Like, it's basically Notre Dame's depth versus Oregon State's depth.
I feel really bad for Oregon State, too. And, I mean, it's only going to get worse from here. I mean, you see that ranking next to their name? That's gone. I mean, we're not going to be hearing from the Beavs probably anymore. I mean, for a few years, unless they can get it together and join the Big 12. I know maybe them playing a Mountain West schedule, they can beat up on those teams and be like 10-2. Maybe they'll be ranked. Maybe. But they're just not going to be the same program. They're not going to be thought of the same way anymore because you're not in a Power 4 league. So I'm hoping for the Beefsteak. I've been saying it for about a year now. I'm hoping they get in the Big 12. But they're just in bad shape. Lose Jonathan Smith, lose half the team. And the guys they're replacing, a lot of them are from small schools. They're not getting a lot of big-name guys transferring there. So it's just not looking good for them. And, yeah, Notre Dame, I mean, Notre Dame's backups against Oregon State's backups, not even a contest.
Good, Jason. Steve could start at Miami, I bet. You probably would start at Miami.
Well, I mean, Miami, they need a guy that can just not throw interceptions. That's what they need. They need a guy that's going to throw for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that's, no picks, like that type of game. So maybe he would, if he went there, that'd be probably an upgrade for Miami.
Yeah, but maybe. I don't know. I was getting excited about my Irish because like these are like Marcus Freeman's recruits now that are playing. Like these guys are just more athletic. So hoping for the playoff next season and a win in the playoff for sure.
I will say though, it was a lot of fun seeing on Twitter because with this bowl game though, because so many people wanted to watch the Holiday Bowl on Fox and they wanted to watch the Sun Bowl on CBS and they wanted to watch the CW Barstool game. With Toledo, Wyoming, because they were like the only bowls on the other networks. But everybody was like, I'm watching the CBS bowl game and it stinks. Notre Dame's destroying them, and I'm still watching it. It was just funny. Like, that's dedication right there. You wanted to watch those other bowls, but man, it was an ugly game. I didn't watch much, I will say. I turned it off after the first quarter, basically. I knew it was going to be ugly.
And last one, we'll say the New Year's Six Bowl for last. We have Memphis taking down Iowa State. I
should have went Memphis because the game is in Memphis. In Liberty Bowl, that was a bad pick on my part. Bad pick.
Yeah. I'm proud of this one for sure. Rocco Beck played well, though. I mean, this was a bit of a shootout.
That was kind of my point, though, with picking Iowa State. Because I said Rocco Beck has been playing solid. And to your point, he played good. 446 yards, 3 touchdowns. But Iowa State's defense was bad. They were not stopping Memphis at all, and I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I was kind of more with you. I thought if any side of the ball was going to blow the game, it might have been Iowa State's offense, but it was the defense. They couldn't slow down Memphis at all. But, yeah, I thought that, Iowa State would win because they were favored by like 9 and they had a decent year in the Big 12, better than most people were expecting. Matt Campbell's kind of turned the tides a bit there, but should have picked Memphis being in the Liberty Bowl, but it was a pretty good game.
And then we have, of course, Missouri and Ohio State. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I'm glad we went Missouri, and we were a little nervous with the whole Marvin Harrison thing. Like, he acted like he was going to play. It looked like he was going to play, but then he didn't. And that kind of just blew their chances because the line was like Missouri -1. And then with the whole Marvin Harrison thing, like, he looked like he's going to play possibly, it went to like Ohio State -5. And I remember you telling me, you were like, man, we're in trouble with that game. But then he didn't play. And then Devin Brown, I mean, to be fair, if Ohio State had Devin Brown in the whole game, maybe the game would have been better. Maybe they would have scored once or twice more. I don't know. But he got hurt, and then it was done. The third string just couldn't get it done. And I keep saying, if Ohio State had Kyle McCord, if they didn't run him out of town, maybe the game would have been closer. Yeah, maybe Ohio State actually would have won the game outright, possibly, with Kyle McCord, even though a lot of people don't think he's any good at Ohio State. But without Devin Brown or Kyle McCord or Marvin Harrison, a lot of other guys, Missouri eventually, it took the fourth quarter, but they eventually found some offense. Brady Cook only threw for $128, but Schrader on the ground finally got some offense going, and then Cook did a couple nice passes, and they won. But Ohio State, the opt-outs and no McCord is why they lost.
Happy for Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz, though.
I thought it stings, though, with a team like Missouri getting that big of a win, though. and then no one thinking it's legitimate. It's like you played the game. It's Ohio State's fault that they're in this shape. If their guys played and they knock off Missouri, great. But they lost because they didn't have those guys. It's not Mizzou's fault. It should count. People should think Missouri did good. I mean, they could have lost the game, and it'd been really humiliating without Ohio State having all those guys, and they still lost. I mean, I get it. To point that out I understand. Missouri, they're not an elite team. They're a really good team. They're not an elite team. They beat an Ohio State team with a lot of guys out. But still, you got to give Missouri credit. For sure. Definitely.
Well, we're just going to skip this game.
Yeah, it's not even anything to say. Florida State, no one played. And Georgia destroyed them, and everybody on Twitter said Florida State, this is why they were terrible. Florida State beat LSU by 3 scores with Travis and their full team. They were a good team. Are they better than Georgia fully healthy? No, but the game wouldn't have been destruction like that with a fully healthy Florida State. So that's all I have to say.
Ole Miss beating Penn State. James Franklin can't beat good teams.
I'm so glad I went with the Rebels. I was nervous. Penn State was favored. Everybody was telling me, go Penn State. I'm like, I'm going Lane Kiffin. I'm going with Jackson Dart. He pulled through with a great performance. Judkins played well. Cade Prieskorn played great at the tight end position. Trey Harris played great at the wide receiver position. Their offense was just humming all game, and their defense did enough. I was glad that I went with the Rebels. I feel like more people went Penn State. And I don't blame it because I almost picked them too. I just kind of took a chance, but Lane Kiffin paid it off. And Ole Miss, congratulations on their first 11-win season ever.
It's crazy that it's their first 11-win season ever. I know they were good. They were good with Archie Manning, and I think they won the SEC with Archie.
That's crazy.
But I guess they didn't play as many games back then, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it's probably why. Moose says, I was hoping Ohio State would blow Missouri out because he's not a fan of Drinkwitz. I mean, I get that. Some people don't like him. I remember the Boston College incident or whatever. Do you remember that? Well, that was him, right? Where he said something like he didn't want to play up there in Chestnut Hill or something like that up at Boston College. I don't remember exactly what it was, but a lot of people I claim that they don't like him because of his personality, something like that. But I'm still happy for Missouri and Drinkwitz because, I mean, he was going to get fired before the season in a lot of people's minds. So it's a good story.
They went 8-3. That was the best that they went. They won the Sugar Bowl, though. They've gone 10-0, but they haven't won. They went 10-0 back in the day, but that was the most amount of games they could play. So, yeah, I guess it is their first 11-win season.
Yeah, I remember seeing it online that it was because I was like, they haven't won 11 games yet, and they're like, first 11-win season ever. I'm like, congratulations. I was happy for Ole Miss. I mean, they're not, one of those elite programs.
Lane Kiffin's still a D-bag, man. I don't like Lane Kiffin.
Well, that's what Moose said about Drinkwitz. I know a lot of people are not a Lane Kiffin fan. I like Lane Kiffin.
Well, Lane Kiffin, you see, he was like, they're like, congratulations, coach, and then he just walked away.
I saw it. I mean, the thing is that I think the thing with like a lot of those instances is that the social media era, everything's taken out of proportion, right? You see something and then people just talk about it. They talk about it. They talk about it. I mean, like David Tepper with the drink, like that's bad. Like that's really bad, right? I mean, no one likes Tepper anyway because he's not doing good as an owner at the Panthers, but still, like, you're talking about with Lane Kiffin. I mean, I just think that he's a great offensive mind.
Yeah,
and he's done a great job with a lot of programs like, Ole Miss, Florida Atlantic, and Alabama's offense where, just most coaches wouldn't have as much success. So, I mean, I have a lot of respect for him for sure for those, being able to win at Ole Miss. And I'm glad he didn't go to Auburn. That whole Auburn stuff, like, I'm just glad he stayed at Ole Miss. I'm happy for Ole Miss fans that they're winning.
Yeah.
But I get why people don't like him. I get why people don't like a lot of people. There's reasons. I mean, you find something that he did or said. I get it. It's the way it is. People just don't like people sometimes.
Yeah.
Can't make them like him. And you can't make anybody like Auburn's performance because it stunk. It was abysmal. Auburn, it's an effort issue. I've been saying this now for week and a half. Auburn has an effort problem. When they play hard against Alabama, Georgia, against their rivals, against these top teams, we see what Auburn can do. They can hang with the best teams in the sport. But then, look what they do against New Mexico State. Look what they do against Maryland. They don't play well at all. It's absolutely abysmal. And Auburn has to get better at this in the future, at playing hard every game. I know Jason's going to say Auburn flat out sucks, but they don't suck completely. They hung with Georgia. They should have beat Bama. They hung with Bama. They had the game. But then when they play New Mexico State and Maryland, there's no effort. It's an effort problem. Talent, they need more talent. It's not a complete talent problem. They need more talent to compete consistently at the top, but it's an effort issue for Auburn.
Mm-hmm. Mike Loxley, though, 3-0 in bowl games, so he has.
Yeah, and Maryland wanted to win the game. I mean, Auburn didn't, Maryland did. That's why they won. Mm-hmm. It was completely an effort issue.
Mm-hmm. Toledo, Wyoming, we got it. I got this one right.
Yeah, I picked Wyoming too. I was worried about picking Wyoming because of the fact that they were not at home or near their home, and they're always good. Mm-hmm. When they're in Laramie, like if it was the Idaho Potato Bowl, I'd have probably been more, inclined to think.
But it's their, I forgot their coach's name, but it was his last game because he was retiring. Yeah,
that was cool for him to get a win. In his final game. In Toledo, I thought they had it. Like Wyoming, for the longest stretch of that game, could not move the ball. Their offense just could not move the ball, but they finally got it going late, kicked the field goal, won the game. Great for Toledo. Great for Wyoming to beat Toledo in Craig Bowles' final game. It was really, really good there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Moose says a recruit showed up to his commitment sign a Lamborghini for Ole Miss. I mean, that's how they're getting those players. I mean, Ole Miss is up their game. I mean, they want to win. I mean, unfortunately, that's how it works now. I mean, if you're gonna get good players, strings attached. Gotta be able to do it to get good players.
Liberty just should not have been in the Fiesta Bowl.
Well, I mean, you had SMU or Liberty, and I mean,
both lost.
If SMU had Preston Stone and their full offense, and it was not raining, I think SMU could have maybe put up 20, possibly, maybe. But, yeah.
They wouldn't have beaten Oregon either.
They wouldn't have won, but I'm just saying they could have maybe put up 17 or 20.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been as ugly with a fully healthy SMU. Liberty, I mean, they didn't have a shot. And, again, it's sad, but these smaller schools just don't have the talent. They can't compete. And since Bo Nix decided to play, Bucky Irving, all those guys, it was over. No chance. Yeah, Hummus Hero, Toledo didn't have their quarterback. He didn't play. If he did, I would have gone.
If he did, we both would have picked Toledo.
Easy. The opt-outs changed a lot of these results for sure. Yeah, but like with Moose saying he picked Auburn again, it was totally effort. Auburn didn't play hard at all. I watched some of that game and I just flipped it off because I'm like, Auburn's not trying. Why should I watch? Why should I watch this? Mm-hmm. It was not good at all. Mm-hmm. But the LSU-Wisconsin game, that was entertainment. That was a good game.
I was pulling for Wisconsin because of my beat Brian Kelly hatred, and I was frustrated.
Well, I was going for LSU, though, because I picked them to win. I wanted to get the game right. Yeah. But, I mean, Wisconsin was chucking the ball around the field. They looked good because of LSU's defense, but Nussmeier did enough. Had a good day. 395, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick, but yeah, LSU, their offense pulled them through, and I thought it would because they had enough still there, and if Nussmeier played well, which he did. But, yeah, if LSU had a competent defense, this wouldn't have been a close game.
And if Iowa had a competent offense, it would have been a close game against Tennessee. But
yeah, I mean, Nico only threw for a buck.
Nico looked – bro, did you see Tennessee fans after the game?
A lot of them were happy with him at first.
They're like, Nico's gonna win us the national championship, and I'm like,
well, I mean, some of them are really high. I saw a few people kind of cool off on him a bit toward the end, though, because like at the beginning of the game, he made a couple nice throws. But to be fair, like he only threw for that much because he didn't have to. I mean, Iowa, again, like I told you last week, the worst 10-win football team ever on offense. They're the worst ever. I don't even think there's any debate. after
They're tied with their 2021 team. Probably.
Yeah, they're only tied with themselves because you're talking about a football team. Like literally Iowa against everyone else, they won except that Minnesota game because of the Cooper DeJean play. But other than that, they beat everybody else that was below them in record. But against the teams that were better than them, they got blitzed.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely blitzed. That's how good Iowa is. Iowa is bad.
Like last year, Purdue. I know they were at home. They won the Big Ten West, but they almost beat Penn State last year. Like
Purdue last year was better than Iowa this year.
Yeah, and there's a sizable gap. I think Purdue's significantly better.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing against Iowa at all. Because I like their defensive players. I like their tight ends. They have their formula, and it's worked in the West. I have nothing against the program, but they're not good. I've never thought Iowa was a good team. I remember when Iowa was ranked in the top 4 or top 5. Remember when they beat Penn State when Sean Clifford got hurt in the game and they won, and Iowa was like second in the country. And I'm like, Iowa's not second in the country. They're not even top 10 in the country. What happened? They went down the tank. That's the way Iowa is. They can't beat anybody competent. They're and the thing is like Erica agrees with me. Me and Erica, when we chat in the Voice College Football chat, we're always agreeing. Like I like Iowa.
They were number 2. Holy crap.
They were ranked number 2. I remember because everybody was like, Iowa's legit. I'm like, they're not legit. They're not legit. You beat Penn State because Sean Clifford got hurt, and the backup quarterback, that Roberson guy, gone. No one even remembers his existence because when he came in for Clifford, he was going out there throwing balls 15 yards over people's head, and Iowa won the game. Iowa was not good that year, and they were not good this year. And why are they not good? Because they have no offense. So if they want to become good and they want to compete in this new Big Ten, and if they want to compete in modern college football, they're going to have to get an offense, or people will realize that the Big Ten West is the only reason they won anything.
Yeah. All right, on to the playoff games.
It's unfortunate. I mean, these teams are getting exposed, man. They're getting exposed right now, next year. You're going to see it. If Iowa's offense does not improve, they're not winning 10 games. It's over. The 10-win seasons are over. They're not happening anymore. They're not going to be able to
win. Michigan tried to blow the game, but they did end up beating Alabama.
Yeah, this game, man, it's all about the mistakes.
I'm like, Michigan kept shooting themselves in the foot, and I felt like, I mean, they weren't dominating Alabama, but they're clearly better. But the mistakes almost cost them. But they did win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, the mistakes is what
pull it out.
The mistakes is what made this game, though, because you talk about Michigan when you missed the field goal, you muffed the extra point, you muffed the punt return. Like, I thought they were going to lose because they made all those errors. Like, you're playing Alabama and you're doing all that? No, you can't do that. And, like, Alabama was being gifted because I was watching the game and I was telling some people, I was like, Alabama's fortunate here to be down 13-10. Very fortunate because they shouldn't have been. They should have been down. And plus, you talk about the fact that Michigan was doing such a good job sacking Milroe. They had 5 sacks in the first half. Like, Michigan should have been up by 10 or more in that first half, but it was only 13-10. And I thought maybe Alabama would win because of that. And then what happened? Alabama took advantage of it. Michigan wasn't doing anything. Alabama went up 20-13, and then it all changed when Milroe fumbled the football. Alabama was driving. They were in control of the game, and then he fumbled. And I know that they stopped Michigan on that drive. Alabama got it back. But after the fumble, Alabama's momentum died. Momentum is a thing. Michigan got the momentum back after that fumble. Scored finally on the final possession because Michigan did nothing from the beginning of the third quarter until that last drive. They had 40 yards of offense between the beginning of the third quarter until that last drive. They scored on the last drive. Bama didn't do anything, went to overtime, and then anything can happen in overtime. And Bama allowing Blake Corum to break off those 2 runs and not allowing J.J. McCarthy to have to put the ball in the air was sad. That was terrible. And then Alabama couldn't respond on the 4th and goal at the end. And that was a terrible play call running up the middle. You got to put Milroe in space.
Do you think that was the play call, though? Do you think the plan changed because of the botched snap, or do you think that was actually the play call?
I I don't
Because
know.
I think it would have been a decent play call if it would have been for him to run like to the right or to the left, not up the middle.
Well, I agree. I mean, that's what I basically was saying on the final play. You know, again, I was watching with some people. I was like, what they need to do is run to the outside, and if the option's there to pass to Bond or somebody, do it. If not, he just needs to run in the end zone if he can. If not, then they're going to lose. Whatever. But the botch snaps is a problem. And a program like Alabama, in literally like your
how is
15th
this
game of the
happening at
year,
Alabama?
14th game of the year, how are you
How is
having
this
all those
happening
botch
at
snaps?
how is this happening at Alabama? Like, what the heck's happening in Nick Saban's program?
Because I wrote on Twitter, I said, if this was week 2, week 1, week 3, whatever, and you're having these issues, fine. But it's literally the CFP. You should not be having these issues snapping the ball. It's like not one snap was bad. Most of them were bad. And it was really sad to watch for Alabama. And that could have been the reason they didn't win. Just those snaps. And usually Milroe handles it well, and a lot of times he did. But you could be right. Maybe that wasn't the play call. I hope it wasn't, because if it was the play call, it was terrible. You don't do that at the 3. So hopefully maybe it was because of that. But Moose says, sorry, guys, keep ruining my mood. Michigan beat Bama straight up, and I don't care about how sloppy. The thing is that
I was gonna talk about Blake Corum and like him being just a dude. Like,
all I know is that Alabama has more talent than Michigan. I know no one wants to hear it, but it's true. Alabama is underperforming lately because they're not developing as much of that talent as they used to, like you said, Will. But they're more talented than Michigan. People showed it on Twitter. They showed it on TV. But Alabama lost the game because Milroe fumbled the football. It's as simple as that. Michigan, more than likely, can't prove it because we can't change the game. They would not have won more than likely if he doesn't fumble there, because Bama's moving the ball down the field. Even if they kick a field goal, Michigan's down 2 scores, they're not coming back. They were going to run out of time. It is what it is. Michigan got very lucky that they
Michigan
were gifted.
Also probably would have had a couple more
by Alabama's mistakes.
Michigan would have had more. I mean, Michigan had some mistakes. Could have been they could have had a couple more points there too.
I agree.
Going into that situation. So
but the thing is that both teams made the mistakes they did.
Defend Moose a bit, but yeah.
I'm just, like I said, both teams made the mistakes that they did. You can't change it. Michigan missed the extra point. Michigan fumbled the because if Michigan doesn't fumble the punt return, that guy could go down the field, maybe score. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, like, the game could have been drastically different if you take away Alabama's bad snaps, if you take away Milroe's fumble. In Michigan, the game could have been a lot different if they don't miss the field goal, the extra point, and the muff thing. So, like, we don't know. The game happened the way it did. Michigan won, but I don't like the statement Michigan beat Bama straight up. Like, okay, if Bama wins this game close, like if it's the inverse and Bama wins the game, like 27-20 in overtime, I don't think either team won straight up. I think both teams played terrible compared to what they can play, and Michigan found a way. That's all you can say. Like, no team won straight up. It came down to the final play of the game. Literally, there's no beating straight up. It went down to the wire. Neither team was significantly better than the other. Both teams, frankly, played awful compared to what they're capable of. So it is what it is. Michigan won.
I do think that Michigan
Harbaugh needed this, because Harbaugh might not be there.
Yeah, Harbaugh needed this. Yeah,
he needed this. Absolutely, Michigan needed this game. Like if I was a Michigan fan, and I'm just try to be as unbiased as possible. Like, a lot of people know that I do like Bama, but I just, I'll just being as unbiased as possible. Because I don't really care. Like, Alabama's won so much, it doesn't even matter. Like, they've won enough. Other teams getting their shots, great. I think it's awesome. But Michigan needed this. If I was a Michigan fan and I was like diehard as Moose and other, some of you guys Michigan fans, I would literally be saying, we needed this. Like, absolutely. Like, it was just desperately needed this. And the fact that they won, it's a sigh of relief. It's absolutely a sigh of relief. And if they finish the job, get a title, it's great. And especially if Harbaugh leaves, Michigan, who knows if they're going to be able to stay at the top of the sport after that. So they needed this.
This is what I was saying when the reason I picked Michigan is they have the experience. Like, they have the group of guys that are, I mean, like Blake Corum, the determination of Blake Corum, I felt, and JJ at that final drive is what won Michigan the game. I mean, Alabama gave them that opportunity, but JJ and Corum especially, those guys just willed them to win that game at the end for sure.
And again, that's why they needed to win, because they had all of that experience. All those guys came back to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other reason they did, because a lot of those guys could have left. They came back to win this game. Whoever it was going to be against, whether it was Georgia, Bama, it doesn't matter. They came back to win the game, and they found a way, but they almost didn't. And it would have been very bad for them if they didn't, but they found a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, Washington was trying to give the game away a bit at the end, but they did.
Now, if you want to say Washington beat Texas straight up, I can understand that more than the Michigan beat Bama straight up thing. Because, yes, Washington did beat up Texas. They absolutely beat up Texas. I mean, they didn't put a complete dent in the score like they're up 21 or anything. But that first half, I thought Washington was in the same boat that Michigan was in, where I'm like, okay, it's 21-all here. And
but they muffed
half. But Washington should have been up by more, because they dominated the first half, and they had also a muffed punt of their own that allowed Texas to score, kept them in the game. But then in the second half, Washington dominated. Texas couldn't do anything on offense in the second half, basically, anything significant. Washington goes up 37-28, game's over. Washington won. And then what happened? Washington goes out there, and they just choked the game away, basically.
I think you got to take the knee there. Like, I know that you could have shaved a couple more seconds off. I think you just got to take the knee.
Moose says Michigan's win was more impressive. Which win do you think was more impressive, Will? Michigan beating Bama or Washington beating Texas?
The argument I'll make for Michigan is that they beat Nick Saban.
I would say that Washington's win was more impressive.
But I do think that
they
Washington's
were a 4.5-point underdog.
Just because of the game,
was favored the way the game.
The way the game went, Washington was more impressive. But beating Nick Saban is definitely significantly more impressive than beating Steve Sarkisian.
Well, for sure, because he's literally got more national championships than any coach ever. So, I mean, it's more impressive when you look at it that way. But Washington's win was more impressive because they weren't supposed to win. They weren't favored to win. No one really was like, oh, they're going to win, even though I think a lot of people picked them, including us. But, I mean, their win was more impressive based off that alone. But Washington beating Texas, it's great. But the way that they almost blew.
I picked Michigan.
Nobody gave Michigan a chance is not true. I know I'm not arguing. I'm trying to be difficult with you, Moose. I'm not trying to argue with everything you're saying, but that's not true. That is not true. The people, a lot of people, sports people that you probably watched that you already know we're not going to pick Michigan, saying that manufactures that thought processing that nobody believed in Michigan. That's not true. It's like when Travis Kelce said nobody picked us to win the Super Bowl. That was a lie. That's absolutely a lie. Nobody believed. Yes, they did. I picked the Chiefs to win. Most people, even if they picked the Eagles, thought the Chiefs had a shot to win. And even though I picked Alabama, I said Michigan for sure can win because they got all the experience. So, if you talk to any SEC fan, that's the point, Moose. You said nobody gave Michigan a chance. That's not true.
No SEC fans did, but
see, I'm an unbiased person here.
But I'm
an unbiased person. I like Bama more than Michigan. I'm unbiased because I said Michigan had a shot.
Most people that aren't SEC fans or don't work for ESPN, I would say more about at least 50% of them pick Michigan to win. I mean, if you take out the SEC people like Josh Pate, Cole Kubelik, Barrett Sally, and then pretty much all the ESPN guys, I think it was pretty even. ESPN.
Doc's point here: history shows the SEC's the betting choice. Michigan winning was a breakthrough. I mean, the SEC. I mean, they've won like 17 of the last 21 national championships or whatever, something insane like that. I can't remember the exact number. So, I mean, it's not fact checked. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's a lot. So, of course. I mean, most people are going to think that the SEC has a better chance, but Michigan was favored. And if anybody was not kidding themselves or being delusional, most people would absolutely have said Michigan had a chance because I said it. So, I don't know. I agree with this as well. The best teams play in the Rose Bowl. I think that's true. I agree with it.
I don't know.
I think Georgia but of the four teams, that's the point. Of the four teams, it was the best two teams. Alabama and Michigan are better than Texas and Washington. I agree with that. But Georgia has an argument that they still were better, possibly than one of those two teams. I mean, I think Georgia was better than Alabama, even though Alabama beat Georgia. I think Georgia was better. But that's not how it works. I mean, basically, like, these games were great. These were great games, but they went down to the wire. Both of these games, Washington shouldn't have been down the wire, but they blew it late. Should have never run the ball with Johnson. He's hurt. Hopefully, he's going to be healthy. I don't know if you have any update on that because we're going to be talking about that, but that stinks for Washington that he got hurt and they should have never run that play. They almost blew the game, but credit to Washington for surviving. But both games were fantastic, and that's why the debate's so awesome about it, because the games were great.
All right. Before we start to talk about the national championship game, I will share this. Kalen DeBoer expects Dylan Johnson to be ready for the championship game.
Thank you. So that's good news. That's great news.
All right.
Still shouldn't have run him, though.
Yeah.
Still shouldn't have had that play late in that game like that. Jay said that people are sleeping on Washington. My thing real quick on that before we get into the game, like, you guys' comments are great. I'm loving the discussion. This is awesome. But when you're talking about Washington, I never slept on Washington ever, because they literally have Michael Penix, who played in Indiana. Kalen DeBoer was in Indiana. Of course. Like, I'm all in on Michael Penix. I believed in him the whole time when no one did. When no one thought he was any good. I believed in Michael Penix before the pylon in Penn State. I believed in him in 2019 when he played, and he was slinging it against Michigan State in 2019 in Virginia, and he looked great. Like, I believed in him the entire time. And I knew when he went out to Washington, Kalen DeBoer, that it was going to work. As long as he stayed healthy, which he has, he was going to be great. Because they were going to protect him better than IU. He's not going to be rushed as much as he was in the Big Ten. And I knew Kalen DeBoer was going to have a great offense. And all that's happened. Did I ever think they were going to maybe be this good? No, but I thought they'd win 10, 11 games with him. But the thing is that the reason why people, I guess you would say, are sleeping on him is just the fact that Washington has won all of their last 10 games by 10 points or less, including beating Stanford and Washington State and Arizona State. Those are bad teams. They barely beat those teams. And I know Alabama barely beat Auburn. I know Michigan barely beat Maryland. I know Texas barely beat Houston and TCU. But still, people are going to give more of a leeway with those teams because it's Michigan, Texas, and Bama. Because it's Washington and you're barely beat those teams. Like, well, Washington's not that good. I picked Oregon both times. I thought Oregon was better than Washington, but Washington beat them both times, barely. And I'm glad that they did. Glad for Michael Penix. I wanted him to win the Heisman, even though Jaden Daniels definitely deserved it. But I'm glad, I wanted Penix to win because I thought that with him winning and, like I said, him being in Indiana, all this storyline is great. But yeah, I never slept on him once. I mean, Washington's a great football team, but overall, arguably, based off their team and comparing them to the other three, Washington is not as good as those teams, but they have enough talent, especially on offense, that's why they're able to somehow win, and they've got the coach and the belief. That's why they're here.
All right. So you're definitely picking Michigan?
I don't know, to be honest, even right now. I mean, looking at this game, like, Michigan's a better team. I mean, Texas was the better team than Washington, but I believe Washington could win because, like you said, Texas's secondary was weak. And Washington has that elite passing attack. And plus, Texas hasn't been able to prove that they could win at that stage. Michigan hadn't done it either. That's why I picked Alabama. But Michigan finally did it. They found a way, even though it took a lot of sloppy play both ways, and Michigan found a way late to win. But Michigan's a better team than Washington. Moose says Michigan most complete team in college football. I mean, it's debatable. Oregon, Georgia, it's debatable. Michigan's fantastic, but it's debatable. Who would you say is most complete team? Moose is giving us great questions here because based off his statements that you can ask. Who do you think is the most complete team?
On paper, it's Georgia, but they aren't playing like it. I mean, they didn't play well against Bama.
They've barely lost. Like, if Georgia wins that game,
I think Georgia would have won if they would have done the same game plan that Michigan did. just blitzing Milrow. But they went zone, dumb, and I don't know what Glenn Schumann. I think he's a good D coordinator for Georgia. But I didn't know what the heck he was doing, not sending more guys after Milrow, and he let Milrow just run to victory.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. I mean, that's a great point. The funny thing, though, is when Milrow fumbled the football, there was no one even around him. He just lost the ball. Like that was the funniest thing about that fumble is there was like it wasn't pressured. Moose says Michigan's been destroying team all year. I mean, the thing is the problem with statements like that, it's not necessarily that you're wrong, Moose, but it's because you have a bias. You believe Michigan's the best team in football. You believe it's the most complete team in football because you're a fan of the team. And you have an argument. But, like, if you were a Texas fan, per se, you would probably say that Michigan could be the best team in the sport. Or they could be the most complete team in the sport. Or it could be Georgia. Or it could be Oregon. That's my thought processing because, yes, I like Alabama. Yes, I like Indiana. But I'm also just a guy that looks at all these teams and compares them. And there's no definitive answer. There's no bias for me. I know you watch all kinds of games, but Michigan is not definitively the most complete team in college football. They're not definitively the best team in college football. They're really good, but they're not definitively the best. Georgia and Oregon and some of these other teams are right there. And probably Georgia's better than Michigan. Georgia is better than Michigan. It's not. I'll take that back. Georgia is better than Michigan. Georgia blew it against Alabama, but Georgia's the better football team than Michigan. They're better than Alabama. Georgia probably was the best team in college football, but they didn't get there because of the fact that they lost. Now you're going to have a 12-team playoff, so Georgia would be in it. And then you'd see what would happen possibly. So I don't know. I mean, Michigan can win it all not being the best team. They don't even have to be the best team in college football to win because that's not how it works. The best team doesn't always win. That's why Washington beat Texas. That's why Washington beat Oregon. Washington was not as good as those teams, but they won. That's how it works. That's why you play the games. The better team doesn't always win. So, yes, Washington can win this game. Michigan's favored by 4.5, but Washington can win this game. Mm-hmm. And then you could still say, Moose, that Michigan's the most complete team. You could still say Michigan is the best team if you wanted to, but Washington beat them if they did. So that's how this thing works. The best team can lose. I think that's like the argument here. So, I mean, I know I'm just kind of just saying a bunch of stuff based off your point, but I know you're going to think they're the best anyway, and you have every right to think that, Moose, but I'm just explaining why it's not definitive. It's based off other things. But I'm going to let you pick first, Will, because, like I said, this is actually a tough game to pick because of the fact Washington's been on a mission, and I think they can win, but it's going to be interesting.
I'm picking Washington to win this game. I know this is going to fire up Moose, but let me explain. Michigan's D-line did get 6 sacks on Jalen Milrow, but Washington had the Joe Moore winning offensive line, the best offensive line in college football. I'm going to say they get 2 sacks on Penix. That's my. I think they get 2 sacks on him, and I just think Michigan does have a good does have a great secondary, but I don't know, man. I just think that these Washington receivers they make crazy play after crazy play, and I think they'll continue. And I think that Washington's defense, it wasn't healthy all year. That's part of the reason why they're in so many close games, because besides the Arizona State game, which is bad, they played bad in that game. That was their Auburn, New Mexico State game, although they still won. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with the Huskies to beat the Wolverines. I'll go 38-31 Huskies. Mm-hmm. Also, I think that Washington's defense, they'll definitely get some negative plays like they did against Texas to keep Michigan behind the chain and get enough. And that's how they'll get enough stops to win.
Yeah, Moose, Georgia better than Michigan is debatable. You say Oregon's better than Michigan, I'm gonna laugh. Oregon, I'm saying most complete team. I didn't say they were better. You said most complete team. Oregon had both sides of the ball. Defense was good, offense was good. That's the point. But you said Georgia better than Michigan. Can we play the transitive property? The transitive property doesn't exist. That's fake. It doesn't work. Because if you believe in the transitive property, because I know Bama beat Georgia, that doesn't matter. because if New Mexico State beat Auburn, and if Auburn beat Alabama, then you can't say that New Mexico State's better than Alabama. It doesn't work that way because the transitive property. Auburn lost to New Mexico State, but they beat Bama. That doesn't work that way. The transitive property never works. And I know that you can say, well, it works against teams that are comparable, but it still doesn't work because Georgia was this close to beating Bama, but Georgia played better games. I mean, for example, like you talk about Kentucky, like Georgia blitzed Kentucky to death. But what if like Ohio State or Michigan played Kentucky and they only won by like 15 or 20 instead of Georgia beating them by 45, 50? Then we could say Georgia's better because they beat them by more. The transitive property stuff, I don't believe the transitive property. That is like the most fake thing in sports. You can't compare results all the time. They work sometimes, but it doesn't always work. You have to have a lot of examples for that to matter. But I think to Will's point, to your point, Will, Washington is fantastic. I mean, they are. They are a fantastic team. But the talent discrepancy is still large. Michigan is a more talented team overall. They've got better players. They got more guys that are going to be playing on Sunday. But, okay, Moose says he was joking. But, I mean, you can't tell over text. Sorry. But the thing is that when you look at Michigan, the side of the ball that's going to win this game, in my opinion, is Michigan has to score enough. Because Washington, to me, is going to score. I know Michigan's defense is elite. It's elite. It's fantastic. They got great studs all over the defense. But Washington's going to score. They got too many offensive players that are fantastic. They're going to score. And Texas has a good D-line, and they didn't get to Penix enough. In Michigan's D-line, they have probably more talent, but still, like, can they get to Penix? Because if they don't get to Penix consistently, then it's going to be very difficult for Michigan to be able to win because Washington's going to pick them apart, even though Michigan's secondary is good. But you talk about Roman Dunze, Jalen Polk, McMillan. Those guys are insane. They're all good. And Dylan Johnson, the fact he's going to be able to play, that's great. It was a scary injury, but terrible how they ended that game doing the play call, but him playing's big too. I am worried with Washington, though, with how they ended that game. I don't like the fact they almost blew that game. I know mistakes can happen, but you can't have those type of mistakes in a big game. Like with Michigan, Alabama, those mistakes can just cost you games. You can't make mistakes. But to your point, Will, as well, Washington's defense did.
It's not horrible, Moose. Come on.
It's not bad when healthy.
They played well against Texas.
Their defense is not bad when healthy. It definitely showed improvement with all the guys being back, and they did enough to win. The defense really helped them win. They stopped them on the final drive. They found a way to get it done. Moose says Washington is elite on offense. Problems Michigan number 2 pass defense. Penix will make some plays. It's a given. Penix won't throw more than 250, 300, maybe 2 touchdowns. Well, I mean, if Penix is held to that, Washington's losing.
Yeah.
But can they hold him to that? We don't know. The game hasn't been played. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think Michigan's a better team. I think Michigan, that they are on a mission to get this done for Harbaugh, and we'll see if he stays. But I don't know. I guess I'm going to go with Washington, too. I'm going to go with Washington 31-28. I think Penix is going to throw enough yards. And I think that
I know it's bad, but they're healthy now. It doesn't matter what their rank is.
Washington has found a way to win all these games that they've played, and I think they're going to find a way to win again. I'm not super confident in it because these are 2 great teams. I wouldn't even be confident picking Michigan because both these teams are fantastic. But I'm going to go with Washington and pull it out. Kalen DeBoer and Penix, they found a way to win all these games, and that offense is insane. Michigan's defense is going to play hard, slow them down some, but I don't know if you're going to be able to slow them down enough. And Michigan's offense, they struggled against Alabama, and I think that they could struggle some against Washington's defense as well a little bit. So I'm gonna go with Washington.
All right. Well, that was a fun, interesting show. The chat was fired up.
I mean, I don't blame. I mean, Moose, I get it. Like again, the bias is there. It's undeniable, 100%. Don't blame you for feeling that way. Michigan could win 38-17. I mean, I don't blame you at all. but it's going to be a fantastic game regardless. And I mean, Jay's point, I'm picking Water only because it'd be cooler if they win. I've always like UW and all sport. Michigan has been great this year, and I kind of like Harbaugh, so I'd be happy either way. I mean, I would not be upset with either win. I mean, Penix, his story, it would just be fantastic, and Washington be able to get it done. But I mean, Michigan hasn't won in a while either, so I think a lot of people will be happy either way. It's not one of those where everybody's want like Bama or Georgia to lose because they've won already. You know, like they want like people will be fine with either. So I'd be fine with either. It's gonna be a great game, and I'm looking forward to watching it. And hope for you, Moose, Michigan can win, and for Washington fans and Michael Penix, that maybe they can win as well. It's going to be awesome.
All right. Thanks, everyone.